Our final selector tonight is Amity Gaige, who is the author, Oh, People in the Bar Talk Less. The author of 3 novels, 3 books, Oh My Darling, The Folded World, and Schroeder. She was herself a 5 under 35 honoree 1 decade ago today. I don't know if it was actually today, but 1 decade ago. Please give her a hand. And also, we don't usually do this, but since it's sort of a special decade thing, I just want to read a quote from a review of a book of hers. That's a great quote. Schroeder is a road trip novel. I don't want to say too much more about it. You should go get it and read it. But someone, I think it was the LA Times, said it was like Lolita without the pedophilia. So here's Amity to present the last.
Thank you so much. Hi, everybody. I'm so thrilled to be able to introduce Thomas Pierce to you tonight. I'm going to tell you a couple facts about him, and then I'll tell you why I loved his book. He's a native of South Carolina, graduate of the MFA program at the University of Virginia, and author of the short story collection Hall of Small Mammals, which the New York Times called ridiculously good. These stories and other stories of his have appeared in The New Yorker, The Atlantic, Zoetrope, O. Henry Prize Stories, and elsewhere, and will soon be followed by a novel, The Afterlives, forthcoming from Riverhead, which is fancy. Congratulations. Back in the mid-1990s, before anyone had heard of him, I was in a group of graduate students hanging out with George Saunders. A couple of beers into it, George gave a group of us some advice. If you can be funny, he said, be funny, because humor is intelligence manifesting itself. Well, I thought of this quote 20 years later as I was reading Hall of Small Mammals, snort laughing, repeating lines, not wanting it to end. Finally, from the other room, my husband asked me what the hell I was reading, and could he read it next? It didn't feel quite sufficient to call them stories, so I said, I'm laughing at intelligence manifesting itself. While we have no real metric for humor, neither do we have one for originality, but that doesn't stop us from wanting to be around it or to figure out how it happened. I felt surrounded by these qualities reading Hall of Small Mammals. Each story takes root in the absurd, but as our laughter dies down, we receive the pith of what Pierce is exploring. In my favorite story, Videos of People Falling Down, it's really what it's called, and that's what it describes. The narrator describes the first footage of an accidental fall. Falling down has never been the same, the narrator tells us. Now we can watch the same fall 100 times. We can laugh at it, we can study it, we can see the birth of fear and panic in the human face. We can identify that moment when a person suddenly realizes that he is no longer in control of what happens next. But the simple truth is, we are never in control of what happens next. Falling down is the universe being honest with you, finally. Please join me in welcoming a truly inspiring writer, Thomas Pierce.
Thank you, National Book Foundation. Thank you. That's very kind. The book wasn't supposed to be funny. Joking. Also, I'm 38 years old. I just wanted to confess that now. It seems like I just want to give everyone a minor heart attack in the front row. No, I'm 33. You're okay. I'm going to read a brief bit from a story called Why We Ate Mud. It feels a little bit resonant with what's been happening the last week. Like everyone else, I've been thinking about that, and I don't know why it feels resonant, but it does to me, so I'm going to read it. It's a story about a young woman who's adrift in love and life, and she's going in for a job interview. And so here we go. The interviewer presents her with a booklet and a pen for the essay portion. Ellie had no idea there would be an essay portion. He says it's nothing major, just a few quick paragraphs. She'll have 15 minutes. Here we go, he says. The question is, how will the world end, and what will happen when we die? He leaves the room. Ellie didn't get much sleep last night. She was out late for her friend Mary's 30th birthday party, and her mind feels like Swiss cheese. She starts writing. The end of the world will be like when the candles get blown out on a cake. Everything will end very fast, but with a final little flicker, so that we at least know it's happening. Then, the earth will just stop existing. And we won't know why. We won't even care why. Our souls will still exist, but in a different way, and they won't care about why it ended because we won't need the earth anymore. When we talk about the earth, we'll laugh about how silly it was to be here. Earth will be like some dream we all had together. It will be like one of those dreams where you eat mud, because in the dream, eating mud seems like a perfectly natural thing to do. After the earth ends, it will be like waking up from a dream like that. We'll all stand around, wondering why we ate all that mud. Also, we won't have private parts. Thank you.